Jose Castillo is with me. Of course, I'm Tim Siglin, contributing editor for Streaming Media Magazine. Jose and I live about 20 miles from each other, and we get to see each other twice a year, once in New York City, once in Southern California, which of course is downtown LA this year as opposed to Huntington Beach. You've been around for a while.
Make me sound like part of the furniture, Tim.
96, was it?
Whatever.
No, sorry, not 96, 2006.
No, it was 15.
Yeah. So I guess 2004.
I don't know. It's been quite a few years. Yes, I have been around.
And you went from showing up to actually being an integral part of the structure of these events.
Well, it was fun, and I have you, Tim Siglin, to blame for that because I was interested in technology and really, was kind of geeking out on some stuff. And this is still fairly early on in the internet days, and
this is back
hardware
when we were doing Geek South there in Tennessee.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, there's this show in New York you need to come up to.
Yeah, and so you said, if you write an article for the magazine, then Eric will get you a ticket to the show.
Right.
And so I go up to New York, and I wrote the article, and Eric loved it, and it was kind of a unique, funny perspective on technology.
Sure.
And that was something that wasn't really going on in the trade publications at the time.
You're unique and funny in a way that most of us who are geeks just don't really.
So basically, I got a job because I was a little funny.
Right,
that's what it was.
And you worked with Dan Rayburn for a number of years, obviously, and now you're working with Eric, who's taken over that role as well. So how's the show for you, sort of, from the early days that you were in that, and you really only came in maybe 6 years after the very first show, but you've seen it, as you said, for 15 years. How's the show sort of morphed? What are the emphasis changes that have sort of come into play?
Everything is different and everything is the same. It really is interesting to me how the trends change, what we call the technology changes, but it all stays the same. It's interesting, like today in the keynote, Amazon Fire, talking about their Fire TV, and they launch a new device that's the blaster, and it's an infrared blaster, and that's something that's 20-year-old technology.
Blaster, that's exactly what came to mind, was those little devices you'd press and it would shoot it to a whole bunch of different.
And so it's a. Again, everything is new, right? But everything's the same. So we're solving new problems. We're seeing new exciting technology come out, but a lot of it goes back to the heart of helping people find or watch content.
Well, and that's true. I mean, discovery. If you think about it, in the early days, you would buy like a web TV and you'd have like this mini keyboard you'd have to type stuff in.
The Google TV?
Right, and then I had the Sony one that felt like the PlayStation. But then you went from that sort of full keyboard to the total opposite direction with Apple and the minimalist, 6-button device.
Yeah.
And now, obviously, what Alexa and other tools are doing is using voice to do that.
Yeah.
So you're right. Fundamentally, we are discovering and playing content. Do you think that the intent of streaming has changed? Because back in the early days of the show, there was a lot of enterprise focus, and then there was some education focus and entertainment, and it seems like we cycle through those things as well.
We do. I think the walls have kind of broken down a little bit because it used to be very segregated, B2B, B2C. This is enterprise level stuff. This is, consumer level stuff. But now it's just everything's together. And I think that's one of the big shifts we've seen is that now you have, everybody playing in every space.
Right.
And the big boys down to the little boys are all in the same arena.
Fair point. And speaking of playing with the esports and gaming and that kind of thing, who would have thought when we first started in this that Twitch would sell for over $1 billion, which is just watching. You remember Justin TV, which was his whole live streaming thing, and then suddenly it became about people watching video games.
Yeah.
And somebody was telling me recently, I'm not a gamer, but somebody was telling me recently that the reason they really like Twitch at low latency is so that they could play along in the game themselves and find the moves that they need to do if they can keep up, where if it was 12 seconds delayed, they'd be sitting there waiting to battle some monster and not know what to do and like that. So
those kind of things have made the connectedness only better, and that's why I think it comes back to relationships and community. And I see some of the same people for the last 15 years that have been a part of this industry.
Yeah.
And those relationships that I have with them personally, but also from a business standpoint, is amazing to me. This is a small, tight-knit community, and I feel like it's been an honor to be a part of it over the last 15 years and have these friendships.
And streaming has allowed you to do something that you're doing completely outside of this, the NASCAR trackside live. I mean, that relies on streaming as a portion of
it really does.
Its delivery.
Yeah, it's funny. I see these worlds colliding. Like whenever I see like my NASCAR life and my streaming media life just collide. Like we actually have the keynote tomorrow is one of the executives from NASCAR. So it's going to be really fun to see. And by the way, if you're watching out there, make sure you tune in tomorrow morning on streamingmedia.com. You can watch that keynote live. It's going to be a really good one.
And is that the 9 a.m.?
Yes.
The 9 a.m. one, so that'll be noon on the East Coast.
Yeah. So I think the colliding of those areas for me is fun because I always felt like they were separate. Like this is very geeky over here. And over here I'm being a host and having fun and in the entertainment world. And so to see the overlap and those things coming together is always fun.
Awesome. All right, Jose, thanks for sitting down with us. We'll be right back with the next interview and hopefully
hang on. Before you go, give me a shout out. Make sure you hit me up at ThinkJose on Twitter, Instagram. Send me a little note. I want to know what your thoughts are on your favorite streaming media moment. And I went back through and I read through some of our old articles that we wrote years ago.
Okay.
And my daughter was like reading through them and it was hilarious. So send me your favorite streaming media moment and I'll see you guys online. Thanks.
You'll have to bring, I know you've brought Shannon before, you'll have to bring one of your daughters to one of these shows.
They would love it.
And we'll sit down and do an interview with them.
Oh no, I don't know if we can allow that.
All right, girls, you heard that.